Hello, you're watching News Mongolian MNB World. I'm your host, Untitled Chapter. Our top stories. Foreign Investment Agency to be established. 20 projects to be implemented through the new revival policy. Agreement on the external inspection and samples of copper concentrate has been renewed. For other news, stay tuned. On Wednesday, the government of Mongolia held its regular cabinet meeting and made the following decisions. The cabinet of Mongolia plans to establish a foreign investment agency.
The Ministry of Economy and Development has approved its operational strategy, organizational program structure and staffing limits and has decided to establish a foreign investment agency under the ministry. The new agency will be in charge of formulating foreign investment policy and planning and communicating with investors in various sectors. It will also protect investors' rights and legitimate interests, stabilize the investment climate and provide support and services to investors. The Venice Biennale, the 59th International Art Exhibition, will take place from April 23rd to November 27th in 2022 in Venice, Italy. The Ministry of Culture presented a proposal on sending a Mongolian delegation to the Biennale. The expenses will be covered from the 2022 budget of the Minister of Culture. Further, the Prime Minister gave instructions to fund upcoming activities from the 2023 through state and local budgets and donations from international organizations, and by increasing the participation of the private sector. Relevant officials were instructed to present the outcomes and results from a Mongolian team taking part in the Biennale. Our country participated in this major art event in 2015, 2017 and 2019. Films produced by Mongolian filmmakers were also sent to the Cannes International Film Festival in 2017 and 2021 respectively.
In implementing the new revival policy to intensify mega projects, private entities' participation is essential. Thus, on Monday, the American Chamber of Commerce in Mongolia, along with the Ministry of Finance, held a forum on the new revival policy to introduce its relevant projects to private entities.
In the economic sector, a few good changes have happened recently. Namely, Mongolia has opened its borders to investors again after a hiatus of 2 years. The start of underground operations at Untitled has been approved. The government has identified the 6 factors limiting the growth of the economy and has introduced leading projects. It is estimated that in order to implement this new revival policy, an investment of over 50 trillion Mongolian turuk is required in the beginning. The budget will be made up of foreign and domestic investments rather than from the state budget.
The Prime Minister, during his statement yesterday, encouraged foreign investors to invest in Mongolia, and the taxation reduction policy will be implemented in certain sectors. This is important news for investors. During the forum, participants asked what kind of government support investors will receive and how reliable is the investment and political situation in Mongolia for investors.
20 projects that are to be implemented through this new revival policy were introduced along with the 94 smaller projects. It was highlighted that public entities are crucial in carrying out those leading projects in the mining, energy, development and trade sectors.
We have no choice but to involve private entities and investors to reach the development and new revival policy. The state budget cannot cover all the expenses. In order to involve them, the government should be flexible and create favorable conditions for investors. A draft law on the cooperation between the government and private entities has been presented to the parliament.
If the medium-term development policy is implemented, GDP per capita is expected to reach $6,000 to $8,000. The over 90 projects to be implemented will create possibly as many as 300,000 jobs. Therefore, investments in the planned projects and related legal reformation have kindled big expectations.
Thank you for staying tuned with us. Now let's take a look at Mongolia's current affairs.
The Central Geological Laboratory, state-owned enterprise and Untitled LLC renewed and signed the agreement to conduct an external inspection and take samples of copper concentrate for export. Under the government's resolution dated in 2013, the Central Geological Laboratory became responsible for conducting an external inspection and taking samples of copper concentrate for export. Accordingly, the CGL and Untitled LLC first established this agreement on June 1, 2013. 2014. Since that time, the laboratory has analyzed about 6.5 million tons of ayutthaya concentrate. The director of the Central Geological Laboratory, Davasambo, said that the agreement has been renewed for a further 5 years in connection with the commencement of underground mining operations. He added that according to the updated and renewed agreement, OT's concentrate samples preparation and inspection work contracts would be established separately, reflecting the consumer price index and international standard prices for inspection. The laboratory determines the content of copper, gold, silver, and 20 other elements in the packaged copper concentrates of Ayutthaya LLC using internationally approved methods, including standard chemical and modern instrumental analysis methods.
The Ministry of Health and the National Center for Communicable Diseases provided its daily updates on COVID-19 status in Mongolia. The Ministry of Health today reported that 874 new COVID-19 cases were detected after tests were carried out at PCR laboratories across the country. 3 people, all with underlying health conditions, died of COVID-19 complications in the past 24 hours. All new cases are of domestic transmission, 464 out of which were confirmed in Ulaanbaatar, and remaining 410 were confirmed in the provinces. 5,937 COVID-19 patients are being treated at hospitals nationwide. Additionally, 19,577 patients are being treated at home. Among the COVID-19 patients being treated at hospitals nationwide, 1,681 are showing mild symptoms of illness and 45 are in critical condition. As of now, around 2.17 million, or 69% of the population, have had the 2 doses of a COVID-19 vaccine, and 31% of the population has received the booster shot so far. The Ministry of Health has established a working group because our country ranks high among other Asian countries with the number of cervical cancer. According to doctors, vaccination of adolescent girls could prevent this disease.
Cervical cancer is a silent pandemic among women. If a woman does not have a screening service, cancer will go into the final stages without any obvious symptoms. A woman who was said to suffer from this disease underwent surgery and was unable to give birth.
I was diagnosed with cervical cancer and I underwent successful surgery. The cancer was very active and spread quickly within a month. In fact, within a month of my examination and hospitalization, cancer had grown considerably.
Citizen B accidentally tested positive for cervical cancer. Thousands of women like her suffer from this condition, are unable to conceive, and some even die. Experts say that about 99% of cervical cancers are transmitted sexually.
The human papillomavirus infection has been shown to be a major cause of cervical cancer. The survey found that about 56% of girls and women had heard about the virus. Vaccination of 90% of adolescents can reduce the risk of death from cervical cancer. If 70% receive the diagnosis and treatment, cervical cancer deaths will be reduced by 2030 if patients can control their disease.
Early diagnosis and treatment of cervical cancer can lead to a complete cure, but in severe cases, the chances of a complete cure are reduced depending on the stage of the cancer. It is important for women to have a cervical smear test done annually. Doctors recommend regular checkups, especially after birth.
Now let's take a look at the currency exchange rates provided by Mongol Bank. And here is the weather forecast for major cities around the world. Well, that's all for now. Thank you for staying with us on News Mongolia. See you next time with more stories and updates. Please follow MNB World on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. Goodbye.